All right, welcome back to Chapter 9, where we're going to talk about production and operations management. All right, so what we're going to do is look at manufacturing and services, put that in perspective, looking at from production to operations management, production processes, operations management planning, control procedures, looking at PERT and Gantt charts, and then preparing for the future. So our objectives are describe the current state of U.S. manufacturing, and what manufacturers are doing to become more competitive, describe the evolution from production to operations management, identify various production processes and describe techniques that improve productivity, describe operations management planning issues, including facility location, layout, materials, requirement planning, purchasing, just-in-time inventory control, and quality control. Explain the use of PERT and Gantt charts to control the manufacturing process. All right, so manufacturing in the U.S. has changed over the years. By 1953, the industry in America peaked with 30% of the workforce working in manufacturing. Nearly 20 million workers by 1979. However, that's when in the 80s, you started seeing a trend where we started outsourcing to other countries. By 2021, that 20 million workers in 1979 had been decreased to 12 million. But the value of products made in the U.S. continues reaching record highs thanks to technology and automation. This is huge, and this is how we compete internationally. All right, so in 1980, 25 people it took to produce $1 million worth of goods. Today, it only takes 6 people. So if you think about that number, in 1979, you had 20 million people. In 2021, you had 12 million. Okay, so you have a massive decrease in the amount of people that are working, but at the same time, you have a significant increase in the amount of productivity that each of those workers are producing. So today's economy overwhelmingly depends on services, right? 80% of jobs are now in the service sector, and many Americans' factories struggle to fill positions. That is the reality, okay? And this is the reason why we have more and more automation in manufacturing, is because it makes sense with the labor costs being what they are in the U.S. One of the reasons for the change is the factory robots have gotten much better. In the factory, robots used to be very large, cumbersome, and actually dangerous for people to work around. Now, with advancements in technology, it is much safer to work around, and that's the reason why they are being used more and more. All right, so these are the leading U.S. manufacturing companies. So the question for you is, why are they actually being produced in America? Okay, there's a reason for it. So if you take a look at something like Boeing, why does Boeing produce domestically? Okay, instead of in a factory someplace else. Okay. One of the reasons for it is because all of the support structure, just like your automotive companies like Ford Motors and General Motors, are all in that same area. So if you did move it to China, first of all, you have to deal with quality control issues, but also you don't have the support structure around it, because it's not like Boeing makes everything on that aircraft. They make the bulk of it, but they also have other companies make things like the seats, the carpeting, things of that nature, all the stuff that actually goes into it. So a lot of the reasons why these technologies are here, or these different manufacturing plants are here, is because there's a host of factors that pours into it. Cheap labor is only one of them. Okay, sometimes it makes more sense to actually go more capital intensive, like a lot of these car plants are, meaning you're using robots and other technology to reduce the amount of people that you need so that you can actually keep your costs in line. But it's not only is where are your suppliers, where are your customers, where are the resources that you're using to produce all of this, your end product. Okay, you want to have those centrally located so it's convenient, so you're maximizing every element of your production cycle. All right, so COVID had a lot of impact on different global supply chains. One of them that is significant is the microchip industry. The problem with microchips is that they are used in everything. Everything electronic needs microchips. How do you produce microchips? Well, you need to have rare earth materials to do that. Okay, this is one of the reasons why China making overtures about taking Taiwan are significant, because that's where most of the semiconductors are made. So this is a significant issue, not only because of COVID, but also what's going currently on with um, the tariffs that are being proposed, and additional tariffs being proposed by the U.S. and China's retaliation. All right, so manufacturers and service organizations become more competitive, because what you got going on now is, we outsourced a lot of our um, manufacturing to China. Well, China's population has advanced where it's no longer become efficient to have cheap labor there. So what we're seeing now is manufacturers are moving to different areas. Vietnam is significant, India, South Korea, Germany. So you're competing with all of these different countries manufacturing, right? And then U.S. businesses must keep up with the latest production techniques. So there was a economist, Joseph Schumpeter, and he believed that continuous improvement um, was a force for creative destruction. What that means is that as you innovate, things that you used to use no longer become efficient. So, for instance, if you take a look at telephones, right? What has a telephone replaced? Your actual cell phone. Well, it's replaced your landline. It's replaced a fax machine. In a lot of cases, it's replaced a computer. It's replaced a flashlight, your watch, all of those different things. So as you innovate, old ways of doing things get destroyed. Same thing in manufacturing. If you don't continue to innovate and push forward the boundaries of what you can offer, somebody else will, and it'll put you out of business. So that's for manufacturing. Service, how you have to focus on service is you have to provide customers with quality care and attention, right? Maintain close relationships with your suppliers and practice that continuous improvement. How can you get better? Because everybody else is competing with you either directly or indirectly. So how can you keep pushing the boundaries so that your service becomes the thing that people want to use versus your competitors? All right, so what is production? That's where you're taking your raw elements, okay, and turning it into something that is sellable, okay? It's a creation of your finished good and service using the factors of production. What are they? Your land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship, and knowledge. Production management is describing all the activities managers do to help firms create those goods. So you're creating a good, whatever it is. It could be a phone, right? What do you got to do using these factors of production, land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship, and knowledge, to create this? Okay. Here's a hint for something like a phone. You're going to use a lot more capital than you would land. Um, you would use also a lot more capital than labor, but you're going to use a lot more knowledge in entrepreneurship. Okay. So your operations management, what it does is it converts or transforms your resources, including your human resources, into a good or a service. Okay. So you're looking at inventory management, quality control, production scheduling, and then follow-up services as well. All right, so what does ops management look like in the service sector? Well, it's about creating your good experience for the people that are using your service. Okay, you got to innovate to cater to the evolving customer needs. You can use robots and AI. A good example of this is McDonald's. You show up to McDonald's through the drive-through, and who are you talking to initially? It's not a person, it's an AI voice asking if you're going to use your code, right? Why is that important? Because it frees up the person on the register to finish the previous order. So it makes the order process faster. Okay, so you can use those things, and production management is looking at ways to incorporate different elements to create a better service for people. All right. Here's another thing that's it's starting to become interesting. I believe this is in South Korea, where they are replacing servers with robots. Um, I think this would be an interesting concept. Uh, Personally, I'd have no interest in going there outside of the novelty of it. I would definitely wouldn't be spending my money there. Nice part about it though is you don't have to tip because it's a robot. Why am I tipping a robot? But these are interesting ways to create a different atmosphere. Okay, for some people, especially in Asia, this is the reason why it's important that they launched in Asia. This kind of novelty is embraced and welcomed, whereas you probably wouldn't have the same kind of reception in America. What are your thoughts? All right, so what about for services, right? It's all about enriching the experience. So if you look at hotels, at the end of the day, what is a hotel? It's a place to sleep, right? However, if you are a business traveler, it'd be really nice to have some different features, like a gym, like the internet, right? We take Wi-Fi for granted anymore, but there was a time where you didn't have access to Wi-Fi or you had to pay for it. Okay, so offering these additional services to people makes staying at your hotel more attractive than at than your competitors. So these are different things that you can add. But operation management is coordinating all of these different things. Think about the breakfast at a hotel, for instance. If you have like a Super 8 breakfast where everything is prepackaged, so everything wrapped in plastic, it's not really a big deal to offer breakfast, right? You just restock it before you turn the key and let everybody in. But if you had a full service breakfast, you're going to need to coordinate a lot more people and resources to make sure that that works efficiently. Well, which one would you rather have? Do you want to have the stale donuts in packaging, or would you actually like to have eggs cooked to order? I'd take the second. All right, so how is manufacturing changing in the United States over the last few decades? Well, as you remember, back in 1979, 20 million people in the industry. Now it's been cut down to 12.5 as of 2021. Okay, so you have a massive reduction in the amount of employees, but at the same time, a significant increase in the productivity of those employees that are employed. So half as many people, six times as much work as back in 1979. What must American companies do to remain competitive? What they need to do is be looking always at what's on the horizon. What are the newest techniques that they could use to be more efficient, provide better value to their customers? And it's the same thing with the service sector. You're always looking at how can we provide more value than our competitors, and how can we align our resources, that's production management, to make that happen. Okay, so how does operations management differ between manufacturing and service sectors? Manufacturing, it's really looking at taking raw materials, so your human resources, parts, supplies, tools, and then turning that into goods. In the service sector, you're looking on creating an experience for using the service. So, for instance, it'd be like um, a, a barber shop, right? Why do you go to a barber shop? Well, me, obviously, I don't. But why do you go to a barber shop? What do you get out of it? somebody cuts your hair. Why do you go to the specific barbershop that you go to? It's because the service that they render is better than the service across the street. What does that mean? Typically speaking, you're going to get a better, more consistent style. You're going to like the people better. Those are what you do. That's the operation management in the service sector. All right, so that is it for the first section of this chapter.